they did at the start today, but they still try to confuse the whole world about our status. Nobody really knows exactly what to say about where we stand. Now, let me, therefore, begin by answering the first question. What were the objectives for which St. Benedict Center was started? Now, all those of you who are preparing to commit yourself to the crusade, which will be coming, not next Sunday, but the Sunday after it, I think should know these things clearly and be able to answer it simply. The answer is three things. One, the sanctification of every member of St. Benedict Center. In other words, our first duty is for ourselves to try and be holy. So that's the first. The second is the conversion of America. St. Benedict Center had a kind of a call. We're talking about a call with the children in the catechism class today, and as you know, that call is spiritual. You don't hear, some people do hear sounds. Father used to tell the joke of some lady who came to a Jesuit, was famous for spiritual direction, and said, Father, I hear sounds, I hear voices. So he said to her, he said, well, we Jesuits are not specialists in that, he said. The Dominicans are, and I So if you hear voices, I will send you to the Dominicans. We don't hear voices, but we do hear a spiritual voice inside, and there was absolutely no question that with all, even the people who have left us, and in no way can be said to be fighting the crusade now, at one time they all agreed that God wanted us to be a spark that will begin the conversion of America to the Catholic faith. And the third is to defend the dogmas of the faith, especially the ones that are unpopular. Now, there is no dogma of the church today more unpopular than the dogma outside the church, there is no salvation. Do you hear anybody? Now, I mean, I know there are many people who don't believe that Our Lady was assumed into heaven, body and soul. But do you hear anybody that gets upset if you say that you believe that? Would he stand up and start fighting you, persecuting you, like you stepped on his sore toe? Or many people don't even believe in afterlife. Many people don't believe that our Lord is truly present after the consecration, body, blood, soul, and divinity, under the appearance of bread and wine. But if it makes you comfortable to hold that, if that's what you think, you're fully entitled. After all, this is America. But when you say there's no salvation outside the church, this stops to be America. Now, we can relax as far as personal sanctity is concerned. Well, that's the purpose of all religion. That's the purpose of the going to Mass, of prayer, of everything. And you cannot call it a crusade. The attempt to convert America can be done also a little bit at leisure. I mean, everybody is trying to convince the Americans of something. Some people want us to be all Mormons. Some people would like us to be all Christian Scientists. Some people want us to be all rationalists, humanists. Some people are working day and night to make us all communists. Well, we think that if true liberty is respected, they can all try, but we will win because we have the goods. And why do we have the goods? Because we have the power of God behind us. In the end, now I'm studying the Apocalypse, and it's given me so much to think and talk about. In the end, we are going to win, not by winning arguments. I have told many of you the story of when I met this Muslim, And I deliberately placed myself in a position that all my friends and relatives said I shouldn't. They thought I would endanger my life. I went out and hailed a taxi, knowing that most of the taxi drivers in Beirut are Muslims. And I sat beside him. He wanted me in the back seat, with place of honor. I said, no, I want to talk to you. And so he started talking. And the conversation, since there was nobody else there was something decent about him. He wanted to ask questions and so on. It didn't take 3 minutes before we hit that wall of authority. To him, all truth came to us in the Quran. To me, it didn't. It came through the Bible, Now, how can you settle this issue of authority? I mean, I can talk till I'm blue in the face about the fact that Muhammad did not give the world salvation or so on, and he could talk as much against so on. You know why the Catholic faith is going to win? Because Our Lady at Fatima turned the sun around. The God we worship is in control of the elements of the whole universe, and there's nobody else who has that control. That's why the Catholic faith will win. When we speak of creation, I have talked about that in all the course of philosophy that I gave. Most people use that word and they don't even know what it means. To think that everything in existence, every atom, every electron that Father was talking about today, exists by the power of God and is completely under his control. I mean, God could let things seem to run themselves for a while. And out of that, one of the most destructive philosophies, destructive of the supernatural order, that arose out of scientism, that the world is like a machine. In the 19th century, you might say, the world got to a state where all the intellectual people, the professors and the writers and so on, had agreed universally that miracles just don't take place. David Hume said, if I was told about a miracle, the probability, first, that the man who told me about it was lying. Second, that he was himself deceived. The third, that if you examine it fully, you will find that it can be explained. And so on is so much greater that no matter... in other words, David Hume was saying that even if a miracle were to take place, I am impervious to it. It could never be reported to me. And Our Lady suddenly produced the great phenomenon of Lourdes. And miracles were happening. And even scientists, atheists, everybody was saying, well, things are happening here, but just couldn't happen by natural principles. So when we talk about Our Lady appearing, like we hear now that she is appearing in the Ukraine, what the implications of this are. Most of the people will kind of half believe it, half not believe it. They don't sit down to think that our Queen can appear anywhere in the world. She is in glory, body and soul. She is in control. Now, when you are on the side of realities like that, you relax. It's not just a question of winning arguments. It's a question of being on the side of the one who created heaven and earth out of nothing, and who is still in full control of all the forces and elements of the universe. When you actually accept these things, you don't just look at the sun, you look at it as a potential of something stupendous that could happen any moment. You see? As we are told about the creation, the sun, the moon, and the stars, the seasons, everything in the universe was made for a divine and human purpose. A divine in that only God made it, and God made it from plans and purposes in his own mind, and in the fact that in the material world, everything was made for man. God would never have created anything material unless he intended man to be there. It's man that appreciates these things and uses them to give God adoration to become a child of God. So the purpose of the whole material